She's like a sickness in my brain, a vision standing by the window pane. She ripples through the blinds and leaves me in a daze. It's in the way her body moves me, the way she grabs me and intoxicates, until the signals in my mind forget to operate. In a fragile skull, I take my pleasure from my alcohol. She'll never give you any time at all. She just comes and goes, you know. And she's got me living in a chemical love, and I try to find the strength to know when she comes back to me again. I'm gonna come up from my hiding.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and thank you for joining me for another coffee and crime time. In today's video, we are going to cover more than one case, but they all have the same common thread running throughout. All of these perpetrators thought that they could hire a third party to come in and do their dirty work for them in the form of taking somebody out that they no longer had a use for, or someone they had a motive to want to see gone. Thankfully, they were not successful, and all of the intended victims in these cases are alive and well. But the methods that were used in order to basically take a contract out on someone's life, the audacity that was displayed in these cases, to say the least, the lack of self-awareness, it's fascinating and also disturbing because it is really scary to know that there's people out there walking amongst us who are going to their 9-to-5s, exchanging polite words with you on the bus, looking like normal people, but in their free time and in the privacy of their own homes, they're typing away on the dark web, dealing in cryptocurrency, and generally acting as if they're the villain in some bad B-list action movie. And it's funny because I was only going to do the one case, right? But then I remembered hearing about it, and then I didn't remember what the name of the case was or who the people involved were. So I had to Google it, and I was like, oh, person who hired a hitman. And then all of these cases popped up, and I was like, what? What? Because you'd think, I'm sorry, I know there's messed up people, but you'd think that going online and hiring a hitman or something would be just, a rare occurrence, right? In the year our Lord 2023, you'd think people are smart enough to know that everything they're doing online is being tracked. Everything they're doing is being watched, and they're not going to get away with it. And it's just a crazy thing to do to begin with. But no, it is so common. So yeah, we're going to dive into all of that. But first, let's have a word from the sponsor of today's video, Incogni. It's interesting because we're talking about internet crimes basically in today's video, and we're talking about, how there's a lot of information and a lot of weird things that can happen out on the internet, and that's where Incogni comes in. Privacy is very important to me because a lot of my life is out there on the internet. A lot of your lives are out there on the internet. I'm sure almost everyone watching this video probably has way too much stuff out on the internet that if they knew what was out there, they would be really uncomfortable with it. And I want to make sure there isn't too much of my info out there because I want to protect myself and my family. Every day, thousands of companies are collecting, aggregating, and trading your personal data without you knowing anything about it. And I'm not just talking about things like your full name or your email address or phone numbers. I'm talking about social security numbers, your address, IP information, employment history, even your shopping habits. And it's scary to think about what someone could do with all of that information. And if these companies are only selling your data, that's the least of your worries. It's the least of what could happen. And I don't want to give anyone that kind of access to me or that kind of power to mess with my life. And don't even get me started on what would happen if any of these companies have a data breach, which happens all the time. It's super common. Apple, Meta, and Twitter have all disclosed cybersecurity attacks over the past 12 months. And PayPal, which is something that a lot of people use, is just one of the most recent companies to have reported a massive data breach. And when these things happen, you don't even find out about it. And if you do, you don't find out until the company notifies you. And by then, all your information, including credit card numbers, banking info, social security numbers, those are all up for sale on the dark web. You have the right to request that data brokers delete what information they have about you so that you can protect your privacy. But the bad news is, If you did it alone, if you did it by yourself, it would take you years to complete this manually. And that is where Incogni comes in. Incogni can do all that long, messy work for you automatically. Incogni helps you protect your privacy and take your personal data off the market by reaching out to data brokers on your behalf, requesting that your personal data be removed, and they deal with any objections. I've had issues in the past with identity theft. Someone once opened up multiple lines of credit in my name, Home Depot, Walmart, Best Buy, the whole nine, and it took actual years to fix. Hours and hours and hours of my time I'll never get back. It's been an actual nightmare, and I don't ever want anyone to go through that again. I certainly don't want to go through that again, which is why I use Incogni myself going forward. Incogni's even great for smaller issues, like weird ads popping up that I don't want to see because of, odd things that I'm Googling because of cases I'm researching. I don't want to see some of these ads that pop up because I'm researching it for a case, and so it's really not in my wheelhouse, the ads I'm getting. The Incogni setup process is so easy. You just sign up with your email address, and then a number will pop up on your screen. And this number shows you how many data brokers Incogni has on its list ready to be contacted. And I love it because it's a real number. It makes me feel like something's already being done. Someone's on my side, someone's working for me and with me, and I'm one step closer to being safer on the internet. I love that Incogni is easy to use, and their interface is so streamlined. There's not a bunch of clutter on there. It tells me exactly what I need to know so that I can move on with my day with more peace of mind. And then as time goes on, Incogni keeps you updated on what's happening. For instance, for me, after a few weeks, I was notified that 9 data brokers had already deleted my data, and I was able to clearly see that in the Incogni dashboard. I definitely think that you should try Incogni out for yourself. Anyone can benefit from this service. And right now, the first 100 people to click the link in the description box below and to use code stephanieharlowe will get 60% off at Incogni. Start getting your private information wiped from the internet now by clicking the link below or going to incogni.com/stephanieharlowe and using code stephanieharlowe for 60% off at Incogni. Huge savings. Thank you so much to Incogni for sponsoring today's video, and let's dive in. Okay, so today we're going to talk about 3 people. 47-year-old Melody Sasser, who tried to hire a hitman on the dark web to kill the wife of a man she met on Match.com. We are also going to talk about 18-year-old Jasmine Paez, who's been charged with attempting to hire a hitman to kill her 3-year-old son. Yes, you heard correctly. Her 3-year-old son. And lastly, we're going to talk about 36-year-old Lindsay Shiver, who's currently in jail in the Bahamas after allegedly attempting to hire a hitman to kill her estranged husband, who was also a former Alabama football player and the father of her children. And all of these cases happened this year, which means this shit is happening all the time, which is crazy to me, and it makes me want to have 0 relationships. Like, if I don't have friends or family members, then no one can hire a hitman to kill me. That's the way I'm looking at it at this point. It's just insane. These are 3 cases out of, I don't know, a couple dozen that I found. Whew. Are you scared yet? I am. So let's start with Melody Sasser of Knoxville, Tennessee, who has been indicted by a federal grand jury for using interstate commerce facilities in the commission of a murder for hire plot. And it all went down between December 31st of 2022 and April of 2023. Reportedly, Melody used a now defunct dark website called Online Killers Market to murder Jennifer Wallace, the wife of Dan Wallace. I shit you not, that is what it is called. Online Killers Market, or OKM if you're in the know. I guess it makes it easy to find if you're on the dark web and you don't know your way around and your Google Maps isn't working and you just really want to find an online killers market. It's a good thing to name your website Online Killers Market. Wow. So OKM, Online Killers Market, claimed to offer hitman for hire services, as well as any other similar services that a paying customer might need, such as hijacking, kidnapping, extortion, disfigurement by acid attack, which is scarily specific, and even sexual violence. The website claimed to have over 12,000 active members from around the world, 12,000. And users would openly and publicly be able to communicate with the admins or potential hitmen even in order to ask them questions and set up jobs. The customer would have to give specific details about what they wanted done, who their target was. They would attach pictures and anything else information-wise they had available to them about their intended victim to make the hitman's job easier. And then a hitman would be assigned to the job. The customer would pay for the hitman services in cryptocurrency, Pretty easy, right? Not a hard process. It looks like Melody Sasser had been perusing this site in December of 2022, but she only officially created an account under the username Cattree on January 11th, 2023. And then she wrote in the forums that she wanted Jennifer Wallace killed in a way that appeared to be accidental or random. Melody Sasser provided the website details about Jennifer, such as her address, what type of vehicle she drove, what type of vehicle her husband drove, her work schedule, her work address. Pretty much anything that a hitman would need to know. Melody Sasser also uploaded a photo of Jennifer Wallace so that the hitman would be able to properly identify his victim. Sasser wrote to the admins on OKM on January 11th, quote, "It needs to seem random or accident or plant drugs. Do not want a long investigation." She recently moved in with her new husband. She works at home and in her office in Birmingham. She works at Wide Orbit offices in Hoover, Alabama. When she works in office, she works later. She drives a blue Subaru Outback with Alabama license plate. Her husband drives a maroon Jeep Grand Cherokee, Alabama license plate. Her husband works at Publix part-time. They have 3 dogs that bark and jump, but nice dogs, end quote. So Melody actually gave both Dan and Jennifer's license plate numbers, as well as their home address, as well as Jennifer's work address, but those things were redacted in the documents. The website, after getting all of this information, then provided Melody with an estimated cost of $9,750 for the job. Now, you might think that this very serious act of going online and literally giving a killer everything they need to know in order to take another person's life, including money, that may have been sobering for Melody. Maybe she would have been having second thoughts in the days and the weeks after. She would have had, some guilt. Maybe in January, when she first made this order, everything was more fresh for her. She was feeling emotional. She was feeling hurt. And so she did a stupid and evil thing. But as some time passed and the wounds began to heal, she would come to regret this stupid and evil thing and try to put a stop to it. Well, if you thought that, you would be wrong. By March, Jennifer Wallace was still walking around alive, and Melody was not happy about this. She was growing impatient. On March 22nd, 2023, Melody wrote to the admins on OKM saying, quote, "I have waited for 2 months and 11 days, and the job is not completed. 2 weeks ago, you said it was being worked on and would be done in a week, but the job is still not done. Does it need to be assigned to someone else? Will it be done? What is the delay? When will it be done?" End quote. And honestly, it's giving delusional. It's giving a lack of self-awareness, a lack of common sense, because you have to be either really brave or really stupid to act like a Karen on a website that specializes in hitman hiring. But I guess OKM was familiar with, disgruntled customers, because with a friendly and quick customer service response, they explained to Melody that these things can take some time. And, there's different mountains to climb when you're, trying to fulfill a contract on someone's life. OKM said, quote, "Hello, she is not aware. He just failed, as he did not attempt it yet. He felt like is too risky for him to do it. Regards, admin," end quote. And honestly, that customer service response would have been a little annoying to me because it's a little contradictory, right? They said he failed, but then they said he didn't attempt it yet. And obviously English is not this person's first language. This is some foreign-based company, and maybe something's lost in translation. But as far as I'm concerned, you can't fail if you haven't tried, okay? That's how I would feel. But on March 29th, the OKM admins reached out to Melody again, letting her know not to fear. She had options. They said, quote, "Hello, I have 2 other hitmen that I can assign the job, but one wants 0.49 Bitcoin and the other 0.485. Which should I assign? Regards, admin," end quote. Now, completely upfront and transparent, I don't know anything about Bitcoin. The whole concept of cryptocurrency completely eludes me. I don't understand how it works, and I know there's people out there that are very educated on it. They know all the inner workings, but I do not. However, I do know, based on research, that 1 Bitcoin equals roughly $28,000, and that can also fluctuate with the market. So the OKM admins were basically asking for about $13,000 to $14,000 in order to hire this new hitman, and Melody didn't seem upset about the increase in price. She simply responded, quote, "Assign to 0.485. I will add Bitcoin," end quote. That Melody, she should be paying for the more expensive hitman if she really is concerned about the job being done properly, being done in her time frame. Why is she still cheaping out? But I take Melody's response to mean that she'd already sent Bitcoin over on January 11th when she'd first booked the hitman. Booked the hitman, like it's like a band for your wedding. When she hired the hitman, the arrest affidavit did state that she'd submitted her payment on the 11th and it was secured in escrow, but now she had to add more because the price had gone up. And how does one deal in Bitcoin? Like if you had cash and you wanted to transfer it into Bitcoin so you could start, I guess, buying things on the black market, how would you do that? Well, one can use a cryptocurrency ATM called a coin hub, and there happened to be a coin hub location in Knoxville where Melody lived, which was lucky for her and convenient. She didn't have to drive far to do her nefarious deeds. The United States Department of Homeland Security would serve a subpoena to CoinHub, and they received in return all transaction data and customer information that matched the blockchain analysis for Melody's OKM username, Catchtree. The CoinHub ATM also takes a picture every time a user performs a transaction, very similar to a normal ATM. And the information CoinHub provided to the Department of Homeland Security also had 4 pictures that showed Melody Sasser using their Knoxville ATM. On December 31st, 2022, she deposited $1,000 into the ATM in exchange for related Bitcoin being sent to her Bitcoin address. On January 28th, 2023, Melody deposited $1,300 in cash. On March 29th, she deposited $2,000, and on April 2nd, she deposited $510 in cash. So what I think, because that's obviously not even close to the full 10 grand of the original quote, I think probably you would put half down and then the person would get the other half upon completion. On April 27th, 2023, Special Agent Gregory Martin with the Department of Homeland Security received information from a foreign law enforcement agency about this potential hit on Jennifer Wallace, and Agent Martin then notified the Prattville, Alabama Police Department of this threat, and a patrol unit was then sent to talk to Jennifer and her husband, Dan, as well as to monitor the Wallace home. When Jennifer was brought up to speed on what was going on, and when she was asked if she knew anyone who might want to hurt her or see her dead, she immediately told the police about Melody Sasser. Jennifer said that Melody and Jennifer's husband Dan had been hiking friends in Knoxville before he moved to Alabama. Now, I'm sorry, I just realized that I did air quotes when I said hiking friend, and I did it unconsciously. I didn't even know I was going to do it until I felt my fingers, twitching like that. Because I think that maybe Melody and Dan were more than just friends, or she had been led to believe at some point that they could be more than just friends. Now, all reports claim that it didn't seem there was anything romantic happening between Melody Sasser and Dan Wallace, but I'm just not so sure personally, and this is just my opinion, allegedly, don't come for me, but I'm going to tell you why. Dan Wallace, who's a retired Department of Energy emergency manager and an Air Force veteran, he met Melody Sasser, who worked for the Pilot Flying J truck stop chain. He met her on Match.com, but he said that they were just hiking buddies. Dan told law enforcement that Melody had helped him plan his Appalachian Trail hike. She had made reservations for him at hostels and rest points, and she'd even taken care of his vehicle for him while he was gone. And truth be told, Melody does seem to be very much into hiking. She's listed on a website for being in the 900 Miler Club, meaning she's one of more than 800 people who've hiked every trail in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. That's 150 trails in total. Also, social media posts show Melody and Dan hiking together quite a bit throughout 2020. So I guess where I'm coming from is I just didn't know it was a thing to meet friends on Match.com. There the air quotes go again. Friends. I thought that, there was specific websites and apps for friend making, just like I know there's specific apps and websites you use when you just want to have fun or a one-night dalliance. And I know there's other apps and websites you use when you're looking for something more serious and more long-term. And when I think about those websites, I always think about Match.com or eHarmony. So I guess, are you meeting friends? Are you meeting friends on Match.com? Is there a friend category on Match.com now that I'm not familiar with? I'm being serious. I didn't research this part. The last I knew, Match.com was for like meeting your soulmate or like somebody you wanted to be in a romantic long-term relationship with. Now, it could be that Dan and Melody met on Match.com because they were both initially looking for a relationship, but maybe after meeting in person, they decided there was no spark, no physical chemistry, and maybe they'd be better off as friends. I kind of do think, though, that maybe it was Dan who decided that, because Melody did seem more invested in this relationship, not just because of what's happening now with her going after his wife, but in general, I don't think a friend would do things like help you plan your whole hiking trip, make sure there was places for you to stay while you were out there, take care of your vehicle while you were gone. That seems like something you do with someone you're dating or somebody you hope to be dating. Like you're trying to show them that you can be a good partner and you can help them out and you can be supportive and there for them, things like that. Like I wouldn't go out of my way like that for a friend necessarily. So like I said, it could be that at first they just, met on Match.com, were thinking that it could be a relationship, had a date, and then it was like, oh, we're better off as friends. But I don't think Melody was really feeling that same way because she seemed super angry with Dan Wallace in 2022. So reportedly, Dan had left Tennessee, moved to Alabama, and during the fall of that year, 2022, Melody showed up at his house in Alabama unannounced. And that's when he introduced her to Jennifer Wallace and announced that he and Jennifer were engaged to be married. According to the Wallaces, Melody's response to this news was, "I hope you both fall off a cliff and die." And I mean, first of all, that's not gonna make Dan want to go hiking with you again, Melody. But also, does that sound like someone who felt she was involved in a relationship that was strictly platonic? Does that sound like somebody who felt she was only friends with this man? You wouldn't be upset that your friend was engaged to be married. You'd be happy for them because you want them to be happy. The only time you're going to be upset that your friend is engaged to be married is if you hoped to be in a relationship romantically with this person. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. Now, around that same time, in November of 2022, someone keyed Jennifer Wallace's vehicle. I wonder who that was. After this, Jennifer began receiving strange calls to her cell phone, and the person on the other end of the call was using an electronic device of some sort to disguise their voice. The caller ID would always display different numbers, but it was the same robotic voice on the other end, and the calls appeared to be coming from Voice IP or some other computer-generated phone number service that assigns callers a random number so they can make internet calls, which are untraceable. Now, an analysis of Melody's cell phone activity showed that she had made 3 calls to Jennifer Wallace on November 7th, 2022, and 6 calls on November 14th, 2022. And to take the creepy factor one step further, license plate reader cameras captured Melody's vehicle within the general vicinity of Jennifer Wallace's workplace on November 9th and the 14th. It also seems that Jennifer was somehow using the Strava app to track both Jennifer and Dan Wallace. So Strava is a GPS-based cycling and running app with a sort of social twist to it. You can track your ride or your run. You can have a record of how many miles you did. You can share photos and progress with your friends or even friendly strangers on the app. You can join challenges, all that jazz. Jennifer Wallace told the police that she and her husband connected their Garmin watches to the app, and they would use the app when they were working out or hiking. But somehow, Melody Sasser must have had access to the details of the Wallace's Strava apps, because on March 28th, 2023, after she paid for the second hitman to take out Jennifer, Melody helpfully sent some more information to the admins at Online Killer Market, informing them that the previous day, Jennifer had worked from home. She'd gone out on a 2-mile walk by herself, completely alone and vulnerable. And at this point, I feel like Melody's pretty much thinking, like, do you just want me to do this myself? Because I shouldn't be having to tell you how to do your job. I shouldn't be having to tell you how to seize on a moment of opportunity as golden as this, as perfect as our target Jennifer going on a 2-mile walk by herself. Come on, man. Like, what kind of hitman are you? She's helpful. I mean, at least she's helpful. The Department of Homeland Security had verified through the app, the Strava app, that Jennifer Wallace had indeed walked 2 miles on March 27th, and she confirmed to them that she'd been working from home that day. So what's going on? Is Melody like stalking them electronically? There's like these weird apps and stuff, or these weird things you can install on people's phones, and it basically just like replicates their phone, shows you everything on them. There's things that you can do that I think should be illegal, things you can do to completely track somebody and every single thing that they're doing on their cell phone, which we do everything on our cell phone. So I don't know what she was using or how she was using the Strava app, or if she had gotten maybe Dan's password and had signed in on her own phone to the Strava app through Dan and Jennifer's account. I'm not sure, but I almost wonder if, when Melody was making these calls to Jennifer Wallace in November, when she was driving by her place of work, was she considering hurting Jennifer herself and then just decided, this isn't going to work for me. I don't really know what I'm doing. I need a professional for this. And that's why the next month she went on Online Killers Market? I don't know. Maybe she was just trying to get an idea of Jennifer's movements so that she could provide the hitman with, enough information to find Jennifer. Now, obviously, Melody Sasser has been arrested and charged, and if convicted, she faces up to 10 years in prison. And I always thought that the sentence for paying to have someone killed was a little light, because being able to do something like that signals to me that this person is, one, cold-blooded AF, and two, not emotionally regulated and honestly dangerously impulsive. Like, you really have to not be right in the head to do something like this. And we've all had our share of dark fantasies. We've all been hurt. We've all been left feeling vulnerable and used. Maybe we've even quietly, in the privacy of our own heads, wished for someone to be dead. We are only human. We are emotional beings. It's not illegal to have crazy thoughts in your head, but that is a far cry from taking active steps to actually make it happen. Melody Sasser's attorney, M. Jeffrey Witt, has given a statement saying, quote, "I have been representing citizens accused of crimes for 32 years across this state, and this is certainly not the first prosecution I faced alleging some type of murder-for-hire scheme. Our investigation is in its infancy, as I was only retained within the last week. As such, I find it premature to comment on the facts of this case until such a time as each of the allegations have been vetted and such future responses are in accordance with our state rules restricting public comments during pending prosecutions." End quote. And I honestly don't mind this statement from this defense attorney, because he's not standing on a soapbox and announcing that his client is completely innocent. She's been framed and we're going to beat this charge. He's basically like, let's just chill. Let's see what develops. I don't even know what she's done yet. So let's just, wait it out. Let's wait and see. So, yep, that's Melody Sasser. Let me know what you think about that in the comment sections. But next, we're moving on to 18-year-old Jasmine Paez of Miami, Florida, who's been charged with attempting to hire a hitman to kill her 3-year-old son. Like Melody Sasser, Jasmine took to the World Wide Web to find the perfect person for the job. But unlike Melody Sasser, Jasmine didn't get in touch with real hitmen. She contacted a parody site called rentahitman.com. And this just confirms the stupidity of some people. When you Google it, when you find the website, it is very, very clearly a fake joke website. So as soon as you type in rentahitman.com, the first thing that pops up is it says, "Rent a Hitman, your point-and-click solution." It continues on to say, "We are 100% HIPAA compliant." And then they let you know that HIPAA stands for Hitman Information Privacy and Protection Act of 1964. And then it says, "Click below for your free consultation." It goes on to say, "The dark web is not safe, but we are. It's common knowledge that the dark and deep webs are not safe marketplaces for carrying out nefarious deeds. These sites are often fraught with potential risks, including viruses, and fraud is rampant. There's no guarantee of privacy, and your information could be leaked to less than reputable websites, including law enforcement agencies. And that's no fun." The good news is that Rent a Hitman is a safe and secure option that's easily accessible on the World Wide Web. We place great importance on maintaining that confidentiality of our clients and ensuring their privacy is protected under HIPAA. In contrast, our competitors' websites can't make the same claim, and their credibility is questionable at best. So when it comes to your safety and peace of mind, choose Rent a Hitman. Capiche?
Yeah, hey you. You looking for a hitman? You got an issue that needs resolving? Look no further than Rent a Hitman, your point-and-click solution. Yeah, we're on the World Wide Web. Not the deep web, not the dark web, the World Wide Web. And tell them Guido sent you. Surf down to the bottom of the page, fill out the web form, and submit it. And I'll tell you, I'll personally put you in touch with one of our over 18,000 field operatives that we have worldwide. And your security and privacy is important to us. And we are 100% compliant with HIPAA, the Hitman Information Privacy and Protection Act of 1964. So check us out, rentahitman.com.
So lower down when you keep scrolling, it says, got a problem that needs resolving? With over 17,985 U.S.-based field operatives, we can find a solution that's right for you. Since 1920, Rent a Hitman has assisted a diverse range of satisfied clients, including ordinary citizens of all ages, government employees, and even political figures. Our experience allows us to handle any delicate situation with precision and efficiency. Rest assured that with Rent a Hitman, you are in capable hands. And there are also customer testimonials. There's customer testimonials on this website. So Phil M. from Florida says, quote, Guido and his public relations crew at Rent a Hitman were able to resolve a 5-year dispute in a matter of days. Highly recommended. And Laura S. from Arizona said, quote, caught my husband cheating with the babysitter and our relationship was terminated after a free public relations consultation. I'm single again and looking to mingle. Thanks, Guido and Rent a Hitman. And then Fernando from Kansas said, quote, my business schedule is too busy to get my hands dirty with human resources issues, so I consulted with Rent a Hitman, and they handled my disgruntled employee issue promptly while I was out of town on vacation. Gracias, Rent a Hitman. The website claims that they have been problem resolution industry leaders for over 100 years. They said Guido Finale and family have operated Rent a Hitman continuously since 1920 and have proudly served both public and private sectors. If you have a question, fill out our secure web form and include as much detail as possible so we can assist you. I mean, it's just, to me, very clearly a parody website if you took 2 seconds to scroll through it. They said they have family package deals, fun for the entire family tree, mention code Cool Cats and Kittens for an additional 10% discount. In this game, it's all about respect, and Rent a Hitman commands respect from everyone in this industry. They've earned their place at the top, and they ain't letting go anytime soon. So if you're looking for the best, look no further than Rent a Hitman. You know, all of this stuff, clearly it's not real. This isn't how you would hire a hitman in real life, but we are also talking about an 18-year-old child at this point. But like I said, to me, this seems very obviously to not be a real website for hiring a hitman. But apparently, no matter how blatant the fakeness of this website may seem to us, you know, people who have at least 2 brain cells to rub together in order to spark a flame of thought, a lot of people have actually tried to use rentahitman.com to get their needs met. On July 18th, 2023, 18-year-old Jasmine Paez reached out to the website and offered to pay $3,000 for someone to take her 3-year-old son far, far away and kill him. Jasmine said she needed this done ASAP, and she gave the date of the hit as Thursday, July 20th, which was just a couple of days after she filled out the form. She expects these hitmen to move very, very fast. So she provided pictures of her child. She provided pictures of her child to this website, along with his exact location, the exact place he would be on July 20th. Now, Robert Inez of California, he's actually the person who created this website, and he launched Rent a Hitman in 2005 when he and his 3 college classmates started a computer security business. And Inez said that the hit in Hitman was supposed to stand for internet traffic hits, not murder hits. So imagine his surprise years later when he checked in on his now dormant site and found hundreds of messages from people who wanted to hire an actual hitman. And obviously Robert was shocked, but as most people would do, I think, he went with it to see what would happen. And he ended up turning rentahitman.com into a parody site.
What started out as a joke has actually led one man to a strange life, helping out law enforcement track would-be murderers looking for a hitman. But where it ended up isn't at all how it started. Reporter Liz Kreutz from sister station KGO in San Francisco tells us more.
Yeah, so I brought some show and tell.
In a quiet park in Fairfield.
Nevada Police Department. Cases from Indonesia.
Wearing dark sunglasses to partially protect his identity.
There's some emails that she had submitted.
Bob Inez showed us his pages and pages of printed out emails.
This is just a lot of solicitations from people around the world.
Inez has been getting these messages for over a decade from all sorts of people hoping for some help.
How do you describe yourself?
Cyber Crusader is, And I'm the webmaster of rentahitman.com, your point-and-click solution.
Yes, Inez runs rentahitman.com, a website he launched in 2005 when he started an IT business.
And it was a play on words. Rent as in hire us, hit as in web hit, visitor, traffic, analytics, that kind of thing.
The business soon fizzled, but the site took on a life of its own. When Inez checked the email attached to the website a few years later, he had hundreds of unread messages with several dark requests.
What is the best way to handle it?
The game-changing one came from a woman named Helen. She wanted 3 family members murdered.
I responded back with a very simple email. Do you still require our services? And would you like me to put you in contact with the field operative? And she responded yes.
Inez forwarded the messages to law enforcement, and Helen was ultimately arrested.
So that was the case that really started it all.
Since then, Inez says he's prevented 150 murders. Just this month, a 51-year-old woman in Michigan pled guilty to attempting to use his website to hire a hitman to kill her husband. This despite multiple indications the website's a sham.
There's several red flags on the website. There's a banner ad. It opens up a new browser window for the Internet Crime Complaint Center that's run by the FBI.
It's like a lot of these people aren't very bright.
No, low-hanging fruit. They're not rocket surgeons, you might say.
And despite multiple news reports about the website, Inez says the requests still keep coming. Some are hoaxes, but some very real.
It's scary because they walk among us. I mean, I've had cases out of Lake County and Stockton and LA. I'm working on a case right now with the LA County Sheriff's Department. It really makes you wonder about who's out there. Are they your neighbors? Are they your business associates? You never know.
Thankfully, Bob Inez is here to try to stop them.
Over the years, Robert Inez has turned tons of people into law enforcement, and Rent a Hitman's customer base is very diverse. They come from all age groups, all walks of life. In July of 2020, 51-year-old Wendy Ween of South Rockford, Michigan, contacted Guido Finelli and family, the rest of the gang at rentahitman.com, to have her ex-husband killed. Robert Inez got the, notification, the consultation form, and he called the Michigan State Police, who sent an undercover detective posing as the hitman to meet with Wendy, and at that time she offered to pay him $5,000 to do the job. She even put $200 down just to show she was serious. The first serious inquiry that Rent a Hitman received was from a woman named Helen, who apparently was from the UK, but she was stranded in Canada, and she wrote this long, rambling email about how she'd been screwed out of her father's inheritance by 3 different family members, and she wanted these 3 family members taken out. She also said she was broke and, had no place to live and had no money, so I don't know how she's going to pay for a hitman to take out 3 people. But anyways, in February of 2023, Robert Inez of rentahitman.com alerted the NYPD that a teenager from Kensington, New York, had filled out an inquiry form on his website. She allegedly claimed she was tired of being bullied at the Urban Assembly School for Leadership and Empowerment in Brooklyn, and she wanted the school burned down with people inside of it. In June of 2023, a teenager in western Iowa was arrested and charged after submitting the personal details for a 7-year-old child that he wanted dead. A customer of rentahitman.com in Dutchess County told the website that she wanted a father and son in Texas brutally murdered for what she alleged was abuse they'd caused a woman. And another Dutchess County resident who claimed to be a young boy requested a hitman to kill his mother. Another woman, Deanna Parkin, was charged with using interstate commerce to facilitate the murder of her ex-husband's new girlfriend in Iowa. And this man, Hosea Garcia, a Tennessee National Guardsman, was arrested this past April after he tried to get a job as a contract killer through the website. Now, he lived in Tennessee, so imagine if, obviously what happened with Melody Sasser, the first case we talked about, it didn't go through because somebody found out. But imagine Melody Sasser had met somebody like Josiah Garcia because they lived in the same state. What if they lived close to each other? And she found him, and he's somebody who wants to be a hitman, and she's somebody who needs a hitman, and they work something out, and then Jennifer Wallace is dead. It's scary, man. It is scary out there. Because he was just arrested this past April 2023, which means he was walking around in January of 2023 when Melody Sasser was looking for a hitman. In a 2020 interview with Rolling Stone magazine, Robert Inez said, quote, "I run a spreadsheet of the requests that I received. About 350 requests are on that spreadsheet," end quote. To this date, Robert believes that he and his website have prevented about 150 murders, but I don't know that any of them can beat the depravity of Jasmine Paz trying to have her 3-year-old son murdered, and wait until you hear the motive. Not that any motive would be good, but some are worse than others. First of all, Jasmine used a fake name to fill out the inquiry form on rentahitman.com, but the site recorded her IP address and she was arrested late Tuesday night, July 21st, but she was then granted a $15,000 bond and released pretty shortly after. And before I move on with her, let me tell you how annoying it was when the Miami-Dade police had to admit that the investigation had been delayed for a day because of, quote, how unique the story was. It's not that unique, guys, okay? What the hell are they talking about? I found like 50 different incidences of this exact thing happening in like the past couple of years. So it's not that unique. So what happened is Robert, the owner and operator of rentahitman.com, he called the Miami-Dade police emergency number twice. And he was like, I want to report that this is happening. This girl wants to have her son, kidnapped and taken away and killed. But each time he was referred to Crime Stoppers. And so then he called Crime Stoppers a couple of times, and Crime Stoppers reportedly told Robert that they would issue a cease and desist letter if he continued to contact them. This guy's out here doing God's work, and he has to deal with this shit from these people? Like, I know it sounds crazy, but it sounded crazy to me, but I guess it happens a lot. So would you at least listen to what he has to say? Would you hear him out? It's so annoying when somebody's trying to do the right thing and they're faced with roadblock after roadblock and unbelieving people and people who are like, oh, stop wasting our time. And he's just trying to do the right thing. And a lot of people might be discouraged when they keep hitting wall after wall. But Robert was like, no, I'm going to keep trying. And finally, on the third call to Miami-Dade Police Department, he had a detective assigned to the case. Thank God for Robert right now and rentahitman.com. So a judge has ordered Jasmine Paz to stay away from her son. But while she was under arrest, her cell phone data was downloaded. And detectives found a text to a man who was reportedly her ex-boyfriend. And the text said, quote, "It's being taken care of," end quote. And when she says it's being taken care of, she means the presence of her 3-year-old son in her life. Apparently, Jasmine had been dating this guy, but he'd broken up with her because she had a child. And so her motive to want her 3-year-old son taken far, far away and murdered was because she wanted to be with some scum of the earth fuckboy. That's why. It's unbelievable to me. Unbelievable to me. So 2 days after Jasmine was arrested, her father publicly spoke out in her defense, saying, quote, "My daughter is a little girl who was born with health problems. She has liquid retained in her neck. She's had 12 surgeries. She's lost the ability to move her face. She's been bullied in school. They called her the monster," end quote. Now that is sad and unfortunate. Of course, I feel terrible for anyone, especially kids in high school, who have to face trials and tribulations like that. And at such a young age. And no one should be calling anyone a monster based on their physical appearance. However, in my opinion, has Jasmine not earned that nickname now? Not because of the way she looks, but because of her actions? You can call someone a monster based on her actions. And in my opinion, Jasmine Paz is a monster. And I don't really think anything that happened to her in her past justifies or explains away the fact that she was going to pay money to have her son taken away and killed. And on top of that, for some dude, for some loser who doesn't want a relationship with you because you have a child. Like, is he really worth it? Is anything worth doing that? Could you live with yourself for any amount of time after you did that? I don't know. I couldn't. And it is a little annoying to me that anytime anyone does something deplorable these days, they always want to fish around in their past to try and find an excuse for it. And I'm not playing this game, not with Jasmine. She deserves to face repercussions for what she's done, and hopefully it's a long while if ever again, that she's allowed to see her son, because she doesn't deserve to be his mother, and he deserves better than to have her as a mother. Jasmine Paez's 3-year-old son deserves to be loved and protected, not set up to be killed just because his very existence is inconvenient to her love life. All right, well, let me know what you think about Jasmine in the comments, and I guarantee you there's going to be a couple people out there who still find some way to have sympathy for this girl, okay? Who still find some way to like justify what she did, or say it was okay, or say they understand. And like, I know that that's going to happen because we're at a place in the world where people just aren't logical. And even something as horrible and abhorrent as this can find sympathizers. You know, if Chris Watts and Letitia Stout and any number of horrible people out there can find supporters, I guess anybody can. But let's move on to our final story, which comes to you from the sunny, tropical Bahamas, where 38-year-old Lindsay Shivers was arrested in Abaco along with 2 other men who were natives of the Bahamas. Her boyfriend, 28-year-old Terrence Bethel, and another man, 28-year-old Farron Newbold Jr. They were taken into custody after a plot to kill Lindsay's husband, Robert Shivers, was discovered during the investigation of an unrelated crime. Robert and Lindsay Shivers, from the outside, appeared to have the perfect life and the perfect love. They could not have been more perfect if you'd made them up. They're both attractive, outgoing people. Lindsay had been named Miss Houston. She'd been a cheerleader at the University of Auburn, where Robert played on the football team before he briefly played for the Atlanta Falcons in 2009. Lindsay and Robert had gotten married in 2007, and under a picture from their wedding day that Lindsay posted on Instagram in 2020 for their 10-year anniversary, she wrote, quote, "The key to a perfect marriage is having 2 imperfect people who refuse to give up on each other. So thankful for the fitness class 13 years ago that brought us together, and all of the love, laughter, and life we have created ever since. I love you, babe." End quote. Robert would go on to become an executive vice president of Senior Life Insurance Company, and together with their 3 beautiful children, Lindsay and Robert lived in an 8,000 square foot mansion, and they regularly spent time as a family and a couple at their vacation home that they owned in the Bahamas. But then something happened to shatter the perfect all-American image they'd worked so hard to build. In April of 2023, Robert Shiver filed for divorce after discovering his wife had been having an affair with Terrence Bethel, whom Lindsay had allegedly met near her Bahamian home. Robert wanted physical custody of their 3 children, he wanted sole use of their $2.5 million home, and he wanted basically Lindsay out of his life. Lindsay also filed for divorce the next day, claiming physically and mentally cruel treatment from her husband. She claimed she felt unsafe in the home, that they were both sharing, even as they went through their separation and divorce, and she'd had locks installed on the interior doors of the home for her safety. Lindsay also claimed that Robert, on multiple occasions and in the presence of their children, had abused her in the home, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. And in regards to her affair, Lindsay claimed that any extramarital relationship she'd ever had was during periods of separation and done with her husband's knowledge and legal consent, which, like, as if, right? Nope. In her filing, Lindsay also stated that she had incurred debt that was beyond her means to pay, and she requested that her husband be made to pay off her debts. Robert responded, arguing that his wife was not entitled to alimony because she had graduated from Auburn University with a degree in marketing and was capable of supporting herself. And in a true and vivid illustration of rich people problems, Lindsay accused her husband of hiding money, of cutting her off financially, and her lawyer stated, quote, "The parties have an overall expensive lifestyle in general. Suddenly, husband is not permitting wife to use the jet or have access to funds." End quote. Aw, you can't use the jet, Lindsay? You can't use the PJ? That must have been so hard for you. I can't even imagine the trauma that you've suffered from the jet being withheld from you and not getting to take your PJ pictures. According to People magazine, Lindsay, her boyfriend Terrence Bethel, and the intended hitman, Farron Newbold Jr., were discovered to be plotting Robert's death after police were investigating a July 16th break-in at a place called Grabber's Bar and Grill in Guana Key. While searching the cell phone of a person suspected in the break-in, detectives discovered WhatsApp messages that laid out the plan, and police allege the 3 conspired to kill Robert together on July 16th while in the Abaco Islands. After their arrests, Lindsay and her 2 henchmen were transported to Nassau, where they appeared in court, but they were not required to enter a plea. They are not due back in court until October 5th. You know where else you won't be able to use the jet, Lindsay? Prison. And this is so sad because divorce is one thing. Both Lindsay and Robert, would have gone through a hard time for a year or two while dividing their assets, fighting over custody, dealing with the emotional turmoil that a divorce causes. No matter where you are in your marriage, it's always going to be hard. But then after that, they would have both been able to move on, hopefully be happy, and ideally learn to co-parent and not traumatize their children further. But now, Lindsay's going to be behind bars, where she'll miss at least a few years of her children's lives. And even after she gets released, they're always going to know that their mother was willing to have their father killed, most likely for financial reasons, because allegedly, she was broke and she didn't have a PJ to call her own. And she had all these debts that she'd incurred that she wanted him to pay off because she didn't have the means to pay them off. And I really just don't see how you can come back from that ever with your kids. I don't see how that can ever be something that they can forgive you for. They'll never look at you the same. You've ruined your life. You've ruined their lives. You've ruined your relationship with them. And it's very unfortunate. So those are the 3 cases I have for you today. Let me know what you think about all 3 in the comment section. Don't forget to like if you liked this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And don't forget to share the video if you think it's worth sharing. You can follow me on social media. The links are in the description box. You also have links in the description box to my podcast, Crime Weekly, that I co-host every week with retired police detective Derek Levasseur. We are covering a very interesting case right now, Chiron Horman, which has been heavily requested on my channel and on Crime Weekly. So go and check that out. Also, you can check out our coffee company, Criminal Coffee Company, the best coffee ever. I don't just say that because it's my company. I say it because I drink it every day. And now we have K-Cups for anybody who wanted them. Thank you all so much for being here. I hope to see you in the comments. Stay kind, stay beautiful, stay safe, and I'll see you very, very soon.
Straight down, and that river runs deep. The mountains get steep, and the voices getting too loud. All these feelings I've buried, it's looking like a cemetery. They coming back from the grave, calling out my name. Better say I have Mary. Well, you don't know how deep it goes until it's killing you slowly. So you got to let it go. I got blood